this video, I'm going to show you how to give your football videos a quick and cinematic color grade. Hey, what's going on? My name is Peter Sarellas. I'm a videographer and editor from Toronto, Canada. I specialize in sport, videography, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to color grade your football videos quickly and cinematically. We're going to be using my football video LUT pack to color a lot of the clips in this video. I have 3 LUTs specifically designed for field sports like football and soccer for the Slog3 picture profile, and then 3 for the HLG3 picture profile on Sony mirrorless cameras, but can also be adapted quite easily to other popular picture profiles from other brands. And the LUTs do a good job of making your blues and reds pop while preserving the natural color of the greens that are on the grass of the field. So let's get started here on this very first clip, which you can see right here, just a receiver making a nice catch in the end zone, and then an ensuing celebration clip. So we're going to grab an adjustment layer. If you don't actually already have an adjustment layer made, you can just come here and click adjustment layer and then click OK, and it'll create one for you. So we'll grab that adjustment layer, we're going to drag it on top of our clip. We'll come to the Lumetri Color panel, which if you don't have open already, you can go to Window and then click Lumetri Color right here, and it'll bring it up for you. Click on our adjustment layer, then we'll come to the Creative tab, we'll click Browse, and then you want to browse for whichever LUT you want. In this case, we're going to browse and grab my Slog3 Day LUT, and that will apply it. And as you can see, we're doing a pretty good job already. If we come to our Lumetri scopes here, you can see that we're a little bit overexposed, and I personally think we're a little bit blue, but overall I think the colors already look pretty solid. So let's bring the highlights down a little bit. I kind of like the shadows being lifted. Maybe we can crush them a little, but not too much. A little more, we'll add some contrast to it. I think the greens are already in a good spot. And I would say that this is pretty much done. Maybe just bring the blues out a little more like that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a pretty nice solid color grade just with the LUT. But now let's color grade this manually as well, just so you can see how that's done. So we're gonna turn this off. We can actually, if you want, when you import a LUT, and this is something I should probably show you because it's quite helpful. Let's just fix these adjustments to bring it back to where it was. You can right click, save a preset, and then you can go, let's go PS football LUT underscore Slog3 day. And you click OK. If you come to your effects panel and then you go PS football LUT, that automatically comes up in your presets now, so you don't need to go through the Lumetri panel. And then you can just drag it onto whichever clip you want, and it will automatically apply. So we'll turn off the color grade that we already did, and then let's color grade from scratch. So when I'm color grading Slog3, I like to use a conversion LUT, which basically brings my Slog3 footage to Rec 709. The conversion LUT that I usually use is by Gerald Undone, who's a really good YouTuber. If you like camera gear, you should definitely go check him out. But he released a conversion LUT for Slog3, and it was a free download. I think it's linked under his A7S3 video. I'm going to try to find the video where he released this conversion LUT that I use and link it below. And I'll also link Sony's own proper conversion LUTs on their website down in the description, so you can go check them out and get them if you want them. So let me just search for his conversion LUT, which you can see I've saved as a preset like I just showed you. We'll drag it onto the adjustment layer here, and this kind of gives us a base to work with. It's definitely not as punchy and creative as the LUT that we were already using, but it's like a little bit of a start. So then we'll come to our Lumetri Color panel, make sure that you're on the conversion LUT here, and then we're just going to start grading. So let's look at our Lumetri scopes, and let's start on the curves. So just playing with our contrast curve, we'll pull that down a little, and maybe like there, just add a little contrast to it. I kind of want to bring, maybe let's play with the curves for this one. We'll add another point and then bring the highlights up a little. Give it a bit of punch. And then the shadows can come down in the same way. Probably needs a little bit more vibrance and saturation overall. Then I think we can come into the curves and go to hue, saturation, and luminance. And I'm not loving the way the greens look right now. I don't think they look as naturally nice as they did before. So let's bring the luma on the greens up a little. And maybe the saturation on the greens can come down a little bit, just so they're not popping quite as much as the players are. Something like that is good to me. Tweak the hue on the blues a little bit, not like that. Maybe like there. So you can see this very subtle difference in the blues. Maybe a little bit more. Right there, very subtle difference in the blues, but I kind of like it. And then let's adjust some saturation. I want to make the oranges more saturated because the subject is orange in this shot, so I think that's really important to make him stand out. Maybe we can desaturate the blues just a little bit to once again draw our eyes to the receiver. Maybe the greens are a little too desaturated as well. Let's bring that up a little. There we go. So I'm going to call that good for now. I don't think we need to do much more tweaking on that. So here is our manual color grade, which took quite a bit longer. And then here's the LUT. You tell me which one in the comments that you like better. Definitely more of like a filmic, like faded looking LUT. And then I made the color grade a lot punchier. Though again, if you want to make the LUT a little bit punchier, we can always switch back and apply like these same changes here. Basically just adjust this because we know we have an orange subject and make the orange more saturated. Maybe do the same thing to the greens and then tweak the blues in the same way just because we have players in the blue here. So we can express that like a little bit more. And now you kind of get like the same thing. So you can really kind of tweak these the way you want. And obviously this is stuff you can achieve manually, but I think it's a lot faster if you use a LUT, though of course both work. Let's move on to the next shot. We have this player right here who's standing for the national anthem. You can see that he's just swaying and there's a packed crowd behind him. I think it's a cool ISO shot. So for this one, I want to show you a different LUT. Let's use our Slog3 neutral LUT from the football video LUT pack. And right away you can see we're a little bit under. The exposure on these can't always be perfect, but I like the colors that are coming out of it and I think it's really nice and punchy. So you just bring the exposure up to a reasonable level and you can see that we're pretty much on the skin tone line here. And we have our highlights just under 100 and our shadows are just above 0. So we're kind of like using as much dynamic range as we can here. We're not clipping anything and we're not crushing anything either, which I think is really nice. I might desaturate the blues a little. You can see on this side, there's like a little bit of blue light spilling in that we don't have over here. And I don't love that. And there's no blue on the player's jersey, so I'm not worried about preserving those colors. So let's desaturate our blues a little. Maybe like, not too much. Maybe we desaturate a little and then we'll do a little bit of a hue shift as well. Maybe if we come over to our color wheels, we can move the highlights away from blue and more into that yellowy area so that it kind of like plays into like the colors of the jersey and stuff. That's better. I think that's good. So you can see without that and then with that, makes a big difference in my opinion. And just like that, I think that this clip is like pretty good. That looks really nice to me. Yeah, no, I'm happy with this. I don't think I would change a single thing. This is a clip that I'm really happy with. You can see there's a player running. He gets tackled, and then the defender just like crawls over basically and pats his chest. It's like a really cool shot. And I was actually using a Pro Mist filter and a star filter for this, which explains like these streaky lights. So this image is a little bit more diffused than normal, but we can still work with it. So we're gonna go and add our Slog3 night LUT right here. And right away, I think we get a pretty solid look. It does need more contrast, of course. You can see here that we're not quite filling up the waveform as much as we were over here. So let's add a little bit more contrast to start. I'm actually just gonna like drag this up to add the contrast. I think that's pretty good. I know it's blue and that works for night, but maybe it's a little bit too blue considering the yellow theme of this shot. So let's push it a little bit warmer like that. Maybe, nah. That's pretty solid to me. Then let's go to our curves and we'll play with our HSL, which I absolutely love. You can tell that I love getting in with these. Maybe bring the saturation of the grass up just a teeny tiny bit, not too much. I'd want to make sure I don't get the yellows in there, otherwise it's going to create some real problems. Considering we have yellow on the jersey. Let's bring the highlights down a little. Yeah, like that. I think that's pretty good. Maybe add a bit more contrast here. Let's go back here, and then I'll lift the shadows up a little bit, just a little. Bring the highlights up a little, and add a little bit more vibrance. I think that's pretty solid. You can see it's tricky because here the player's in less light, and then here the player's in more light. And I'm happy with how this is spread out here. but I'm not happy with how it's spread out here. So we're gonna actually add some keyframes to this. So we like how this shot looks around here. So let's come into our effects control panel, and honestly, I'm just gonna keyframe everything because I don't totally know what I want to adjust yet, but we're gonna make some adjustments. Then let's come back to here where the player is not standing under the light and it's a bit darker. And we're gonna kind of color correct this. So I think if we just bring the shadows up and maybe add some more contrast to this, that should kind of do it. Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference to look at like this versus this. Maybe bring the highlights up a little as well at the same time. Let's make sure that these keyframes are all aligned. Yeah, so to be looking at this image versus that image is huge. And now this image will slowly change to this image over time. So let's play that clip back now. And there we go. And considering like the difficulty of that shot, all the filtration on it to give it like that diffused look, and then like the changing light, I think that actually looks pretty solid, and I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's move on to our clips that are shot in HLG3. And HLG3 is like one of my favorite picture profiles to use because it already looks pretty solid out of camera and it's really easy to color grade, but it still gives you a lot of dynamic range. There is an issue with HLG3 though, unfortunately, where it's red in the wrong color space in Premiere Pro 2022. I made a video about this that very quickly explains how to fix this issue, which is linked right up here. But I'm gonna show you how to do it right here, just so you don't need to worry about it. So when you film clips in HLG3, they're gonna look overexposed and weird like this. You can see the highlights are here totally blown out. Like this isn't a good looking shot, it's clearly overexposed. But when you bring your HLG3 clips in that are properly exposed, they're gonna look like this in Premiere Pro 2022. So if you bring them all into your project panel, you highlight them all, right click, go modify, interpret footage, and then go color space override and select Rec 709, click OK, and it'll fix your clips, and then the highlights will all come back. So before, after, looks much better. Now, with our HLG3 clips corrected, let's get color grading. We'll drag our adjustment layer on. We'll come to the Creative tab. We'll browse for a LUT. We'll go to our HLG3 LUT, and let's do HLG3 day. I like that. Right off the top, that looks solid. I don't even know if I want to make changes to this. Geez, you could just export this right now. That looks awesome to me. For the sake of doing it, like let's make some adjustments. Maybe I'll take some of the blues out of the highlights here. So let's come to our color wheels and just bump the highlights a little bit more to this side. Not too much, just a little bit. So there versus there. This is all just like stylistic and preferential at this point. I think this looks pretty freaking good. I think it would look so good with like the light right back here coming behind the player. And then like the colors popping off the jerseys, the blues and the reds, like this LUT just shines in a situation like this. So just like we did last time, I want to show you how to color grade this from scratch as well. So we're not going to use a conversion LUT because the conversion LUTs are from Slog3. Like you could use one and then like decrease the contrast and saturation, but I don't really want to do that much. So let's go to our Lumetri Color here. We're going to go add a Lumetri Color effect and color grade this from scratch. So let's go to our curves and we're going to just create an S curve here to add a little bit of contrast. Okay, let's bring our Lumetri scopes up to make sure that we're not clipping anything. That's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's nice. We're gonna have to make some white balance tweaks to this, I can already tell. But we'll add the vibrance and yeah, not too much saturation to this. I think I want to bring the blues over just a little bit on this. And then let's go to creative and hop into these curves. I think that we should mess around with the reds a little. Maybe, yeah, more like this. I like that. So there's a red before, kind of like pinky. And there's like a solid red, which I like. And then let's mess with our blues. Kind of do the same thing, really punch the blue there. And I think those reds are like really punchy and nice. I'm just gonna saturate them a little bit more, make them pop. And then I wanted to do, I don't think we had to do it much in the last clip, but I think it's more necessary on this one to like punch the blues out of the shadows just a little bit, maybe bring it more towards this reddy area. So here's my color grade that I did from scratch. And here's the LUT. Honestly, both really solid. I'd be super happy to use either of these. Then let's pop into this clip right here. We have this player who makes a catch and then goes and gets hit and jumps out of bounds. We kind of cut the clip off here and jumps out of bounds. And then he says that this guy's too small. I think that's really fun. So let's pop our adjustment layer on here. And this time we're going to grab our HLG3 neutral LUT. Now honestly, I'm kind of good with that. Like, I think this looks pretty sweet. I love the way that the greens look on this LUT. You can see that it works really well with like the green jersey here. And it's just such a good shot too. Yeah, no, I don't think I would change a thing here. I'm gonna keep this rolling. All right, so here we have our last clip. We have our quarterback who steps back in the pocket and throws a dart. Receiver takes a big hit and holds on for the touchdown. It's probably one of my favorite night shots that I've gotten so far this season. Nice celly right in front of me, just awesome. So we're gonna color grade this one. Let's grab our night LUT right here. And that looks pretty solid already. Maybe I wanna make a couple tweaks to this. Let's go a little bit more on the orange side maybe, and a little bit towards magenta, but not really that much. Hop into Lumetri scopes just to look at it. And I think maybe the highlights can come down a little just looking at the opposing team's jerseys in the white. And maybe the shadows, no, I don't even like the shadows coming down. I think that's pretty solid as is. And then let's go look at what the lighting looks like over here. And I think that because of the way this light is coming in, I want to add like more contrast to this scene than I had over in this scene. So let me just keyframe a whole bunch of these like I did last time, just because I'm indecisive. Yeah, we can kind of like have the change start like here. And let's go to this scene where we have that light leak kind of coming in from the side. And we're just gonna make a couple adjustments. So let's add a little bit of contrast here. Maybe I bring this a little bit more blue again. And I think that maybe we can like push it a little bit more magenta, just based on how the light looks. Maybe that was a little bit too much. Let's bring it back a little. I think we're good about there. So here is without those adjustments, pretty faded. And then with the adjustments, I think it's a little more poppy. And then over here is like same deal. And here's this clip with our quick little color grade on it. If you go and get these LUTs on my website, www.petersarellas.com, and then use them in any of your edits, tag me on Instagram @psarellas. I would love to see the work that you produce. If you have any questions about anything we did in this video, about our color grading process, about the football video LUT pack, go drop it in the comments. I'd love to have discussions with you down there. I always just love hopping in the comment section. It's like one of my favorite things to do on YouTube. If you did like this video, please subscribe to the channel because I post videography and video editing tips and tutorial videos similar to this one on a regular basis, and I would love to have you around for that. Anyways, that is going to be all for this video. So until next time, peace.